everybody. This is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for this devotional. We're in Acts chapter 18. I'm going to read the last few verses 24 through 28. It reads, "Now a Jew named Apollos, a native of Alexandria, came to Ephesus. He was an eloquent man, competent in the scriptures. He had been instructed in the way of the Lord, and being fervent in spirit, he spoke and taught accurately the things concerning Jesus, though he knew only the baptism of John. He began to speak boldly in the synagogue, but when Priscilla and Aquila heard him, they took him aside and explained to him the way of God more accurately. And when he wished to cross to Achaia, the brothers encouraged him and wrote to the disciples to welcome him. When he arrived, he greatly helped those who through grace had believed, for he powerfully refuted the Jews in public, showing the scriptures that Jesus was the Christ." Now, in this notation, Dr. Luke, our author, helps us to see that Paul wasn't the only one preaching across the empire. God had other men who were spreading the good news as well, and Apollos was one of those men. Now, Apollos was from Alexandria, located on the map today on the other side of the Mediterranean. He would have lived there actually around the time that Mark Antony and Cleopatra would have been there, and this city was second in importance only to Rome and all of the Roman Empire. It was situated on the coast of Egypt with incredible sea views and proudly held one of the largest ports in the world. It was a center for education and philosophy, founded actually by Alexander the Great and later named after him. And it held a university with a library of almost 700,000 volumes of literature. Its population during biblical times would have been right around 600,000 or so. And it had this like upscale, kind of cosmopolitan vibe with all kinds of people living there. Egyptians, Romans, Greeks, and Jews. And at least 25% of the population was Jewish, which meant they had a lot of influence there. Now, this infers that Apollos was probably formally trained and educated as a teacher. He was also aware of some of the events that happened around the time of Jesus, including that of the preaching of John the Baptist. But you'll notice here that his teaching was incomplete. So in a very polite way, Priscilla and Aquila, who Paul had left behind in Ephesus, pull him aside and inform him of the events that happened after John the Baptist. This would have included the testimony about Jesus and his life, death, and resurrection. Now, Apollos is evidence that there's always going to be the presence of these celebrity teachers. To some degree, teachers like this come about because of their extraordinary God-given gifts and the praise given to them by the people who follow them. But while teachers are necessary, it's not really about the teacher, is it? It's about the person and the message they teach. And later, when Paul writes a letter to the believers in Corinth, he addresses this issue, which has become an issue of some contention. Listen to what he says in 1 Corinthians. He says, "For when one says, 'I follow Paul,' and another, 'I follow Apollos,' are you not being merely human? What then is Apollos? What is Paul? Servants through whom you believed, as the Lord assigned to each." And thus Paul tells us how to detect a great teacher. The sign is that when they receive praise for great teaching, they are quick to deflect that praise and point to the one who deserves the praise. For great teachers don't just have great gifts. They know they steward that great gift to point others to a greater God and not themselves. So the next time you're listening to a celebrity teacher, listen and enjoy their God-given gift, but listen carefully and detect who's receiving the praise. Is it them or is it God? I love you guys. Have a blessed day. I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.